Imagine being forged from birth as a deadly weapon ready to bring nations down, only to find your first real battle is surviving a fancy high school filled with super rich kids in South Korea. This is the tale of Kang Jien, a human supercomputer with cheat codes built into his fighting skills. He can take down a whole group of bullies without even getting tired, but if you ask him for his Instagram, you'll end up with nothing but blue screens. His mission was to sneak into the world of the super rich and get close to the most powerful kids in the country, which sounded easy enough, right? His toughest challenges aren't rival agents but jealous heirs, the school's queen bee, and the fact that he's never tasted tekkabaki. And get this, his backup is 2 legendary agents pretending to be his parents, who care more about him making friends than the mission and will absolutely destroy any corporation that messes with their boy. So, who's the real danger? A trained killer or the school's most popular girl? If you enjoy watching an overpowered but socially awkward hero teach spoiled rich kids a lesson, hit the like button and drop a comment below to let me know. A fresh adventure starts as a plane cuts through the clear blue sky. It lands right in enemy territory. A huge, brand new international airport is alive with non-stop movement. Inside the terminal, a chaotic sea of people makes every single one a possible obstacle. In the middle of all the confusion, one family stands out like a sore thumb as they walk through the arrivals hall. They walked out of the terminal and stepped into a whole new world. The dad, rocking a Hawaiian shirt so loud it might be illegal, takes a huge whiff and yells that Southern Joan really does have different air, while his wife giggles and warns him he'll be in big trouble for talking like that. And their son, who looks like he wants the ground to swallow him whole, calls his parents comrades and begs them to stop wearing such weird clothes. Son, his mom says, dragging him into a hug he doesn't want. My handsome son, you simply can't speak like that here, she chirps, totally ignoring the pain he's in. Not long after, they squeeze into a taxi and zip through the city streets. Dad is going crazy over the huge skyscrapers, acting like he's never seen a tall building before. He just stares at all the wild and colorful buildings, and he's going crazy. He sticks his head out the window and screams with pure, unfiltered amazement. And there it is, the dad who's thrilled, the mom having a blast, and the son who is absolutely over this trip. Dad looks confused as he asks if every single building is this tall. Mom smiles at her goofy husband while their son stares out the window, likely wondering why he ever made the choices he did. The taxi driver chuckles and says, "You must be back in Seoul after a long time, buddy, because you have no idea." The dad yells, "First time, first time," almost causing the driver to have a heart attack. He tries to say something else, but his wife decides she's had enough of his silly tricks. Bam! She grabs him by the collar, yanks him back, and shouts at the driver, "Look at those buildings," while staying calm. The driver glances over his shoulder, his face wet with sweat and his mind reeling from the strange passengers sharing his cab. It looks like the sudden pull on the collar was a critical hit, leaving Dad completely knocked out in the passenger seat. Mom just giggles to herself as her son curls up to one side, officially quitting this family. Finally, they reach 2 towering, supermodern apartment buildings that look like they belong in the future. Standing outside, the mom beams with delight and says, "Oh my, I love it, honey." The dad beams with pride, shouting that their brand new home is worth more than $4 million, to which someone responds, "Okay." Mr. Moneybags watches his son scan the area like a secret agent, who mutters that all is clear. Just then, a security guard wanders over to see what the fuss is about. The guard asks if they are there to visit, telling them they need a pass to get in, but the family just stares at him like they've just arrived from another planet. Dad points dramatically at the very top of the building, shouting that the big house up there is our home. The security guard's jaw hit the pavement because he wasn't expecting what happened. The mom beamed with a huge smile and happily told us, "We moved in last month." The guard stands frozen in shock, his face slick with sweat as he tries to make sense of what just happened. Suddenly, the scene shifts and we find ourselves standing at Seoul International High School. Back in the classroom, the teacher just announced that a new transfer student has arrived, and get this, it's you. The students are shocked to find out he isn't just visiting for a semester, but has actually transferred to stay forever. The entire classroom is buzzing with excitement as everyone tries to guess who this new mystery kid is. The female teacher tells them that his acceptance into the advanced class says everything they need to know. She spun around to face the new kid and demanded, "What are you doing over there? And when are you finally going to introduce yourself?" He just stands there for a moment, letting the quiet wrap around him, which feels a bit too dramatic. "I am Kang Jien," he says with a flat tone, and after a quick "nice to meet you," everyone is left in awe of his amazing speech. One of the girls in the class gives a smug smirk, clearly thinking she's the queen bee. She calls out her own type just as another girl shouts that she's already claimed him. The teacher claps to catch everyone's eye, and Kang Jien rushes to an empty desk. He slams his bag down. The red-haired kid and his friend instantly shoot the newcomer a suspicious glare. The teacher challenges Kang Jian to see if he can keep up with the work now that it's already the second semester. Kang Jian sits quietly with his arms crossed, saying nothing, and he is definitely too cool for school. The teacher points to that nearly impossible math problem on the board and asks, "If you're feeling brave and think you can crack it, why not come up and try?" Kang Jian didn't even bother looking up straight. He just gave the board a quick, casual glance. At 2:24, he speaks without even blinking, proving he is quite the hero. The teacher was so shocked she couldn't even believe what she had just seen. One student is scribbling wildly in his notebook, making sure his answer is right. He shakes in his shoes and lifts his hand, shouting to the teacher, "I finally got it!" And that's right, the teacher is shocked because the kid just solved a super hard problem in his head, which is totally something you'd only see an anime hero do. And he figured it out in just 2 seconds flat, proving once again that he is a walking calculator. The rest of the class stares in shock at the new kid's huge brain. Even the students who doubted at first can't stop believing their eyes after what they just saw. The girl who claimed him just smirks with her chin resting on her hand, and now I like him even more. Kang Jian isn't here to make friends. Instead, he sits at his desk with one clear goal in mind. I'll make sure this mission gets done, and it's clear that kid isn't just your average high school student. And now for the sad history. A much younger Kang Jian is gasping for air after a grueling workout. He is being dragged through the woods, battered and bruised, while a terrifying officer watches him from the shadows. They drove him to his breaking point, forcing him to tackle high school English and math while the pressure was crushing. A dark, shadowy figure, likely his trainer, stands tall over him like the final boss he must defeat. His training wasn't just reading books. It was a harsh routine where he punched trees until they splintered and practiced shooting at paper targets, while his tough coach watched closely. Amidst all that crazy hardship, he hammered himself into a human weapon, proving just how brutal his childhood really was. The officer stands silent with his face swallowed by shadow, making him look like a ghost from a scary story. The boy stands ready, a single drop of sweat or maybe a tear tracing its way down his determined face. The flashback keeps going as young Kang Jian takes a savage beating during a sparring match with his commanding officer. Without even a moment's pause, he blasts forward and closes the distance in a heartbeat. He lunges with a high kick, but the officer just blocks it as if it were nothing at all. The officer throws a furious punch that makes the young man duck just to stay alive. The counterattack hits so fast and hard that it leaves him completely stunned. Before he can even recover, the officer lands a crushing kick that sends him flying. The officer looks at the young man with eyes as cold as ice, but the young man glares right back, battered and bruised yet refusing to break. They collide once more in a dizzying whirl of action, their sword-like tools humming as they slice through the air. The scene moves to a high-tech control room where the officer turns to number 7 and says, "Your mission has been given." He stands in front of a giant wall of screens, briefing his young agent about the mission in southern Jose. The officer's face was grim, for the road ahead would stretch far longer than 10 years. He unveils a crazy plan: to sneak into South Korea's most exclusive elite circles and forge powerful friendships. Then wait for the party's orders. He finishes, "And that's your mission." Kang Jian accepts it without a second thought, snaps to attention with a sharp salute, and simply says, "Understood," while an officer watches as a door slides open to reveal 2 more people stepping out. A serious-looking man with glasses and a young woman, both in uniform. The officer points to the group of comrades who will stand by your side to carry out this mission. The 2 fresh newcomers nod their heads as the officer tips his hat. And there they stand, the elite trio of 3, all set for their long and tough journey ahead. Wait a second, his 2 friends are actually his parents in disguise, and now the story gets even more twisted. The memory fades, and we're back in their absurdly fancy new apartment. The man, who isn't really her father, gazes at Seoul while his partner whispers, "Do you think John will believe it?" He turns to her, and his goofy tourist mask slips away to reveal a face full of worry. He wraps her in a warm embrace and whispers, "Let's take our time. Getting him out of that nightmare is enough for now," Wa muttered, realizing this entire situation was just a rescue mission. After flexing his big brain, Kang Jian has caught everyone's attention, especially the girl named Era who is definitely watching him. Before he could blink, a crowd of girls swarmed around him. They swarm around him, bombarding him with questions one after another. They are dying to know his secret, convinced he must be the son of a diplomat or some important stranger from abroad. But this round of questioning is wearing him down, and the man, trained for fighting, isn't built for this social firing squad. Right as he's about to give up, the crowd splits open like the Red Sea. Then the Queen Bee steps right up. She beamed a super confident smile while saying hello and introducing herself as Lyra. She asks if he is Kang Jian, but he just gives her the 1,000 why stare, proving his guard is up. His eyes were so sharp they could cut through anything, and he didn't blink even once. Flashback to the night before. Instead of opening a math book, Kang Jian is quietly observing his classmates like he's studying a secret mission plan. And who's the first file on his desk? You guessed it, the girl he just met, Liera. Just then, his dad walked in without snacks, but instead brought another assignment. He slammed a huge pile of papers onto the floor, revealing more targets to memorize than anyone expected. So make sure you pay close attention. Kang Jian's reply was so cold and robotic that his dad finally snapped and told him to fix his tone. His dad gives the most important mission rule: blend in and act like a totally normal kid. He gave a look that could curdle milk before finally agreeing with a quiet, yes. That brings us back to the classroom, where he locks eyes with his target and the mission flashes in his mind. Liera is his #1 priority. She's no ordinary classmate. She is the daughter of the chairman of Samyung Group, the most powerful company in the whole country. Your mission is simple. Sneak close to her, win her trust, and then steal every secret about her family's business. Era finally bursts the silence, her voice sharp with irritation as she asks, "Are you always this quiet?" He's about to speak, but she stops him by sliding her phone across the desk. Kang Jian stares blankly at the phone, totally baffled, and can't figure out what someone means by Insta. Noticing he was still confused, she tried one more time, guessing that maybe he used a different app called Obook. Shifting her approach, she extends her hand and says, "Hand over your phone. I need to get your number." And there it is, the one thing his years of brutal training never covered. The man is completely glitching out. The girls can't believe it since you don't even have a phone. Kang Jian is soaked with sweat as his fake identity as a normal high schooler finally falls apart. Eris stared at him with pure disgust, asking, "What is wrong with you? Are you a caveman?" She looks so let down she just spins around and walks away, meaning the mission is a failure. The entire classroom freezes in silence for a heartbeat before hushed giggles and whispers suddenly break out. The rumors fly around like wildfire without a single phone or Instagram post, so his parents must be super strict. Era and her crew jumped out of there, leaving him all alone at his desk. He's tightly gripping his fist under the desk while his mind screams, "Just grab the phone." All his world-class training is completely useless against the final boss of teenage social life. After school, he trudged home feeling utterly defeated until he froze in his tracks, sensing something strange nearby. Outside the school, a whole fleet of supercars is lined up, showing exactly how the other half lives. He notices another student, a tall girl with long dark hair, walking right past him. His eyes go wide in a heartbeat, knowing this must be another target. His secret mission file just loaded, marking her as top priority, but before he can move, a huge bodyguard jumps in front of them. The bodyguard is a total beast, staring down at him like a mountain of muscle that can't be moved. The man calls the girl Miss, and walks her to a black limousine that's waiting for her. Then who walks right by but Era herself, heading off to her ride. She jumps into a light blue Rolls-Royce, and the whole line of fancy cars rolls away. While Kang Jian stares in shock at this crazy show of wealth, a hand suddenly comes down and smacks over his eye. "Don't stand in the way, just move." A punk with red hair glares and smirks, thinking you're kind of annoying. And naturally, another massive bodyguard arrives to walk this kid right up to his bright yellow G-Wagon. Kang Jian stands alone there, feeling like a total stranger in a world built by the super rich. Right as he's getting ready to leave, another student shouts out to him. The newcomer introduces himself as Zhang Dongwu, a grandson of the Minister of Justice from a family loaded with power. Seeing Kang Jian all by himself, Dongwu boldly offers to give him a ride home. Kang Jian pauses for a moment, but when Dongwu gets nervous and tries to back out, Kang Jian surprises him by accepting the offer, leaving Dongwu thrilled. Dongwu asked where he lived while riding in a clean white Audi. Kang Jian calmly answers, "Bampo Blue Tower," leaving Dongwu speechless at how pricey that neighborhood is. But after they exchange greetings, a new friendship could very well begin. Dongwu even asks his driver to drop Kang Jian off first before heading to the next stop. After a quiet ride, Dongwu starts fidgeting, clearly itching to ask you something. He finally mustered the courage to ask about that crazy math problem from class. "How did you do that?" Dongwu asks with wide eyes, while Kang Jian just stares back with a puzzled look. Dongwu waves his hands and apologizes for acting strange, but he can't stop talking about how amazing it felt to solve everything just in his head. Then, feeling a bit embarrassed, he admits, "I'm actually really bad at math," which makes Kang Jian see his chance to help, and Dongwu is left totally stunned. Dongwu's face lights up like a switch when Kang Jian says yes. Dongwu is jumping for joy, while Kang Jian thinks things are going perfectly well until Dongwu asks the one question he was afraid of. Do you really have no phone or Instagram? And instantly, the good mood vanishes. While Era chats with the driver, Secretary Yang, they sit inside the light blue Rolls-Royce. She asks him to investigate the new transfer student and find out every little detail. Secretary Yang suggests pulling in the corporate strategy team, but Era stops him cold. She explains, I just need to know if there's someone I can get along with, and her secretary instantly understands, promising to have a full report on her desk by tonight. Era peeks out the window with a curious smirk, thinking things are finally getting interesting. When Kang Jian finally arrives home, his mom beams at him with a giant, happy grin and shouts, "Oh, son, you're back." He just stares at her with a completely blank expression. She nudges him for not saying, "I'm home," like any normal kid would, while his dad peeks over his paper looking worried as Kang Jian mumbles a shy greeting. His mom just laughs and gives him a friendly pat on the back. "Good job, son. Go to your room," he says with a puzzled look, letting her playfully shove him toward the bedroom. He pushes the door open to find his whole room has been completely changed, with a brand new desk, bed, and keyboard waiting for him. He stares in shock at the high price, but his mom just laughs it off. "Remember, we're filthy rich and everything we do is necessary for our family." Kang Jian's eyes snap to his brand new desk. There sits a laptop, a tablet, and a brand new smartphone. He grabs the phone instantly, and you can see the wheels spinning in his mind. He turns to his mom and nervously asks the big question, "Maybe you know what Insta is too?" His mom is completely in the dark, but then his dad steps in with a grin so full of confidence it lights up the room. "That's something I'll teach you," he promises with a bright, cheerful thumbs up. Kang Jian looks absolutely shocked while his mom just giggles at her husband's clumsy, out-of-touch behavior. Later that night, we caught Era running hard, pushing herself right to her limit. She pauses just as Secretary Yang pops out of nowhere, holding a file for her. She grabs the clipboard and looks inside to see that Steve Kang, the father of Kang Jian, is in the profile. The report is wild. It's about a Korean-American CEO of a huge crypto company who is worth at least 30 billion. And that's not the only thing happening because his security company is growing wildly big in the US and Japan, and people in China are starting to take notice too. Era shuts the folder with a thoughtful look in her eyes. Her secretary asks him if he should keep digging up more secrets. She hands it back with a confident smirk, saying there's no need, and it seems she thinks they can get along just fine. The next morning, Kang Jian was just relaxing with his brand new phone right there on his desk. He lets out a small noise to catch their eye. Aurora gives him a puzzled glance while sitting in her chair. Kang Jian can feel her watching him, but he just crosses his arms and waits for her next move. Suddenly, their eyes snap to each other across the room. With the silence hanging heavy, he smoothly pulls out a brand new smartphone as a special gift from his parents. Era's attention snaps instantly to the source, her smile spreading wider as the perfect lure finally takes effect. His new friend, Jang Dongwoo, scoots over, buzzing with excitement over the phone you just bought. But the good times don't last, and suddenly a huge shadow falls over them. A hand suddenly grips Dongwoo's shoulder tightly, and the red-haired guy shouts, "What is going on here?" A nasty smirk curled his lips as if he already knew you two were getting friendly. Poor Dongwoo is shaking and stammering, claiming Kang Jian is just helping him with math. While that, another guy with slicked back hair just watches everything with a look that says he isn't impressed at all. Kang Jian stays completely quiet, carefully studying the new challengers. The red-haired punk just laughs off my reason to study hard, but I still have my own business to handle with him. He just shoves Dongwoo's head down on the desk and takes his seat, acting like such a jerk. Now, those two absolute units are boxing in Kang Jian. But our boy just stares back, totally unbothered by their scare tactics, and you just love seeing it. He immediately notices the first man, Go Jin-so, the politician's son who dreams of becoming president. The other is Huang Wuong, the heir to the giant Dijang group, and these guys are absolute powerhouses. Kang Jian spots his chance, flashes a friendly grin, and asks if he can tutor them in math as well, but his offer just hangs there, while both of them are left stunned and silent. Jin Suk just laughs it off and walks away, telling his friend to make sure the guy doesn't start getting annoying. Wang barks at the transfer student and immediately grabs Kang Jian by the collar. He steps right up, his voice dropping to a low growl as he warns, "The most important thing here is knowing your place. Keep quiet and stay under the radar." He growls as his grip tightens, and for a split second, Kang Jian's training takes over to picture the perfect move. In his mind, his hand is a blur, smashing right into Wang's throat with deadly accuracy. With just one strike, everything is finished. The fake punch lands without a sound, leaving no mark. It was a flawless move from a trained killer. But of course, that's not what actually happens. Wang just repeats his threat. I nod and say, "Got it?" And Kang Jian just smiles while quietly placing a hand on Wang's arm to stay under the radar, then asks, "What does that mean?" Wu Yung is totally confused and asks, "What?" before suddenly feeling a sharp, crushing pressure on his arm. Kang Jian's grip is like a steel vice twisting Wang's wrist with insane force. Wu Yung begins to sweat as the pain becomes too much to bear. Kang Jian bends his arm back as if it were easy. With that same friendly smile, Kang Jian asks if this is how one makes friends here, prompting Jin So to turn around in annoyance at being disturbed while his son gets handled. Wang, burning with rage and shame, snaps his arm free and swings a wild punch straight at Kang Jian's head. He roars, "You little fool, do you think you can get yourself killed?" While Kang Jian simply watches the punch coming at him with a face as calm as still water. But he isn't just staring at the fist. His eyes are fixed on the security camera tucked in the corner. Then we see a memory of his dad teaching him a lesson. His dad pointed out live feeds from all over the city, explaining that cameras were everywhere in South Korea. With just a few clicks, his instructor teaches him how to break into the school's entire security system. He even pulls up the feed for this exact classroom, because this is your classroom. He zooms past the gym, offices, music hall, library, and sports field, keeping a watchful eye on everything. His dad brags that breaking the security is easy, while Kang Jian proudly calls him the top computer expert in the north, only for his dad to quickly shut him down. "Hush now and get things right." His last warning echoed in Kang Jian's ears. No violence, and remember, everything is being recorded. Right now, Wang's punch is an inch from his face, but he slips out of the way with ease. He slams his flat palms down hard on the desk, driving the force right into Wu Jing's gut. The hit is so sudden and fierce that Wu Yong is caught off guard and stumbles backward. His attack was completely stopped before it could even begin. He stares in total disbelief, boiling with rage at the bastard. Right when things are about to get wild, Era speaks up to break the tension. She joins her friends to call out Wu Yong for acting like a total punk. Across the room, Gojin So watches the new kid, thinking they clearly don't know the rules yet. With a sneer, he mutters that he needs a lesson, but Era yells at Wang to stop before looking even more foolish. Wang shoots a dark glare right past her at Kang Jian, daring him to face him alone later. Kang Jian isn't scared at all. He just smiles, asks when and where, and calls the other person a Chad. So Wu Jun gets so mad he storms out of the classroom. Kang Jian kicked himself because this 4-star guy is now a high-value target for recruiters. He needs to win them over, but he's totally lost on what he should do. Suddenly, a cheerful blonde English teacher walks in and spots the new student right away. Kang Jian is still dreaming about jeans, so even as his teacher asks if he can keep up with the all-English class, Kang Jian answers instantly in perfect English, leaving the teacher amazed by how natural his accent sounds. He spins a tale about growing up at an international school in New York before moving away to follow his dad's work. Dongwu amazed the teacher so much that she cheered, saying his special way of speaking would help the entire class sound better. And Kang Jian is feeling pretty smug about this. Era watches him with fresh interest while Jin Silk and Wu Jiang look a bit sour. Now that everyone knows he's from New York, the girls are swarming his desk like before. Okay, time to start working, so he shows his phone to the confused girls. But just then, Era steps in and snatches it right out of his hand. She grins and says this is from our company because you passed. Inside, Kang Jian is throwing a party because his plan worked perfectly and was a total success. Era instantly starts scrolling through his social media, which is filled with photos of him and his fake family having wild fake vacations. She taps through photos of them in Paris on a tropical beach and in Japan showing off all their adventures. Staring at those photos, Era can't help but feel completely melted by this warm, happy family. Of course it was all fake, so Kang Jian mentally gives a huge thumbs up to his support team for creating this perfect digital disguise. But let me tell you, that did not fool us at all. When the final bell rings and everyone else rushes out, Kang Jian stands alone, a lone wolf in a sea of sheep. Outside, the rich kids are lined up with their fancy cars for an exclusive show. While talking about rides, Kang Jian recalls his dad boasting about a new car he promised to bring, and now Kang just stands there watching all the other students walk right past him. Suddenly, Era turns to give him a friendly wave and says with a smile, "See you tomorrow." As Era walks off, Kang Jian can't help but smile to himself since she's finally paying attention, but he quickly freezes when he realizes Huang Wuyong and Gojin So are right behind him, and this does not look good. A heavy hand slams onto his shoulder, and Huang Wuzhong doesn't look happy as he growls. "Guess we're going together." In a split second, Kang Jian takes a quick look at everything going on. Suddenly, two brand new troubles stepped right into Wang Wuong and Gojin So's life. But then the twist comes. His mission flashes in his mind, telling him not to fight them but to recruit them instead. "All right, where to now?" John asked. A huge bodyguard stands beside a yellow SUV, waiting for them. Wang just stares him down and orders him to get in the car while he's still begging nicely. Kang Jian isn't scared at all. Instead, he sees his perfect chance to win them over and finish the job. So he silently walks straight toward their car with a bold move, only for a loud screech of tires to be followed by a flashy red sports car crashing down the road. It drifts to a perfect stop right in front of them, blocking their way so suddenly that everyone just stands there, totally stunned. And then, his dad pops out of the driver's seat wearing a loud Hawaiian shirt and sunglasses, waving around like a total maniac. "You're my son. I came to pick you up," he yells, completely unaware of the deadly danger he's just walked into. Woo Yong and Jin So stand frozen, their tough guy image completely shattered by this ridiculous scene. Kang Jian's face twisted into pure horror, and you could almost feel the sting of second-hand embarrassment yourself. The dad is here, and his own father shouts again, grinning from ear to ear like he's the coolest guy in the whole world. Other students just walk right past, staring at the huge mess happening right in the middle of the street. Kang Jian tries to save what's left of his dignity by telling his dad he's hanging out with friends, leaving Wang and Jinsok baffled while his dad beams with joy and gives a huge thumbs up. Right now, Kang Jian's soul has actually left his body because the cringe is just too strong to handle. He roughly pushes his dad back into the car, screaming that he'll see him back home, because he just wants all this to be over. With one final roar, his dad speeds off, leaving behind only skid marks and a lot of confused looks. Kang Jian lets out a huge sigh as the runaway disaster van rolls down the street. Jin Suk shoots him a furious glare, muttering that you really need some serious guidance. And with a click, they all squeeze into Wang's SUV and zip through the city streets. Kang Jian sits quietly, likely wondering just how much of a mess he's gotten himself into this time. The car finally rolls up to a massive, sleek corporate building that looks nothing like a rough, dark back alley. He steps out and gazes up at the sign. TJ Sports is here, and everyone wants to know what's happening right now. Jin So waves his guard away to keep moving, but the guard stands firm, insisting he never leaves Jin's side, not even for a second. With a sigh and an annoyed look, the bodyguard follows them into the huge building. Inside, holy cow, there is a huge MMA gym with a big octagonal cage right in the center. Kang Jian stepped into the training center, took a quick look around, and thought to himself, this just got interesting. A guy in a tracksuit waved them over and said the cage was all clear and waiting for them. Woo Yong barks out a warning to keep others out, and the other man just bows in agreement, showing they are clearly the ones in charge of this place. But then the guy leans in to whisper a plea for forgiveness to Kang Ji, promising to call an ambulance quickly because he knows exactly what's about to happen. Woo Yong is getting so impatient he's yelling at everyone to ask where the ambulance is, but his friend is still super confident. Through it all, Kang Jian stays quiet and watches Woo Yong get ready for what's next. Suddenly, Woo Yong tears off his shirt to reveal a massively muscular body that proves he is truly one of a kind. He buckles on a pair of red MMA gloves and stares at Kang Jian with a look that could kill, because the fight is about to begin. Standing on the balcony, Jin So grins and says it's been ages since he's seen anyone walk in here with such confidence. Kang Jian looked up at him and asked, "So you want me to spar with that guy?" While remaining completely unfazed. Jin So can't hold back her laughter. "Ready to sparring, call it what you like. Bring it on." His laugh grows wild as he yells at Kang Jian to hurry up and sign the waiver. Down on the floor, Woo Young shoves a clipboard right up to Woo's face, pointing straight at the spot where he needs to sign. It's a waiver that says if you get wrecked, you can't sue, which Kang Jian thinks is standard for a beatdown, though he narrows his eyes as he reads the fine print, clearly thinking hard about what it means. He looks up, calm as always, and asks if you'd like him to sign his name right here. Jin Suk leans over the railing with a nasty grin, taunting you with the question, "What's the matter? You scared?" Kang Jian just gives him a cold, calculating stare, leaving his face completely blank. Jin Suk's eyes gleamed with a twisted happiness as he begged you to crawl on your knees and act like a dog, threatening to let you go only if you obeyed. Kang Jian just stood there, completely unbothered by the danger. For the first time, Jin's smile falters as she whispers, "Why aren't you reacting?" While thinking to herself, "This guy is weird." Kang Jian turns to the cage and asks the chilling question, "Are there really no cameras in here?" Jinsik's smug smile vanished instantly as he stumbled over the single question you asked. Even Woo Yong, who's ready to jump into the cage, is confused because Kang Jian just signed the waiver. "So we really have to do this, huh?" Jinsk snaps back and starts laughing hard, shouting, "Are you crazy? Our Wong is a national champion, and you're about to get crushed." Kang Jian shrugs off the clipboard with a glare so icy it could freeze fire, telling everyone to sign it fast because the fight has just turned in our favor, while Huang Wujiang stands in the ring looking completely wrecked yet acting like he's got the world by the balls. Sitting right across from him, our boy Kong Jian quietly fixes his gloves, while keeping a poker face that looks like he's about to pull off a big win. Woo Yong starts talking a mile a minute while the kid just stands frozen with that classic bully face. The two face off, with Wu Jing bouncing like he's had too much sugar while Kong Jian stands perfectly still, creating a hilarious scene that hides Kong Jian's inner mind where a supercomputer is already working hard to find the perfect way to handle the situation. He quickly ran a test and saw that one punch to Wang's temple would finish the job. And that's a miss, just a little too hard because we're trying to teach a lesson, not send him to meet his ancestors. Next up, a hard punch that cracks ribs and draws blood, which sounds cool but won't work. A jab to the eye is way too much, a knee to the ribs is a definite no, and a crippling leg kick? Just nope. He can't afford to kill or permanently harm the corporate chairman's son. That's just a terrible idea for making money. He's truly stuck, wondering how to teach a spoiled rich kid without starting a global fight. Wang finally steps up and throws a quick test jab that stops just inches from Kong Jian's face. Yet Kong Jian doesn't even blink. He throws in a flashy spinning kick, but Kong Jian slips past it so easily it's like he didn't even try. Wu Yong's eyes go wide with shock, and you can almost see the error message flashing in his mind. Peering over the railing, Gojin Sok and his bodyguard stand frozen, their faces twisted into pictures of pure shock. Wu Yong steps back to act tough, but you've been training hard, and he admits it. Kong Jian stays so quiet and serious that Wu Yong starts to get really nervous. The silent treatment is working, and as Wu Yong's anger grows, he grits his teeth until his big, cocky grin comes back. "What's with that look?" he yells, charging forward with all the grace of a runaway train. With barely a thought, Kong Jian slaps him hard right in the face. He casually flexes his fingers, completely unbothered by the attack, because he is so much stronger than his opponent. Jinsok and his man stood frozen on the balcony, staring at the impossible sight before them as if they'd just seen a ghost. Wu Jiang shakes with a mix of pure rage and fear, clearly having a terrible day. Kong Jian slowly tightens his fist and narrows his eyes, signaling that playtime is finally over. Wu Yong loses his cool and shouts, "Wanna die?" only to get a sharp slap across the face right after. The blow knocks Wu Yong backward and leaves him stunned, with no clue as to what just struck him. Before he can get back up, Kong Jian turns and smashes his open palm hard into the side of his head. Wu Jing's eyes rolled back as he crashed to the floor, and just like that, the fight was over. Jin Suk and his bodyguard stood frozen in shock, jaws dropped, wondering exactly what they had just seen. Kong Jian looks up at them, noting there won't be major damage because he went easy on them, though his idea of easy is absolutely terrifying. He turns and strides out of the ring, ready to leave if there's nothing more to watch, treating this like just another ordinary Tuesday. But Jin Suk refuses to let it slide, and from the balcony, he yells, "Stay right there," making the story twist even more. A moment later, Jin Sak and his bodyguard rush down to the main floor with wild, excited grins to intercept him, and Jin Suk makes a shocking declaration. "From now on, you're my right-hand man." Kong Jian is totally confused because his loyal partner is just trying to go home and play video games. Jin Suk turned to his bodyguard, practically buzzing with excitement, wondering if the guy was really as strong as he seemed, while the bodyguard just stared blankly, looking like he desperately needed a raise. Kong Jian muttered to himself, trying to figure out what that really meant, and then he chuckled, thinking, "Welcome to the club." Jinsk struts back toward him, bragging about how awesome it is to be his number 2, and then he asks if you know who his dad is. He wraps his arm around Kong Jian's shoulders in a friendly hug. "Let's go. I'll take you to a great restaurant to celebrate." Jin So laughs like a total maniac. Kong Jian was flustered, but everything was going according to plan, which was exactly what he wanted. Later that night, Kong Jian walks back into his family's huge and fancy apartment to let them know he's home. His dad asks if he made good friends, and Kong Jian yawns and says, yes, which is technically true. His mom happily asks about dinner, but he says he's already eaten with his new friends. As he walks away, his parents share a silent look of worry. Back in his room, Kong Jian fell onto his bed, totally exhausted after a long day of fighting and tricking people. He lets out a heavy sigh as the harsh truth of his mission settles in, proving it's far harder than he ever imagined. His mind jumps back to dinner, where Gajin Sok proudly showed off the fancy restaurant and asked, "Pretty cool, right?" Jinsk says it's a family favorite and urges him to dig in. "The food looks amazing, artist, you're making me hungry," and when Kong Jian takes his first bite, his whole world stops. The taste was so strong that he couldn't even find the words to speak. Jinsk bursts out laughing at his dramatic reaction, showing he's never eaten at a fancy place before. Seeing Jin Suk's huge, friendly smile, Kong Jian can't help but wonder if this is really the crazy guy he knew at school. Jinsk leans in close and whispers that being his right-hand man is actually pretty simple. He has just one task: to smash anyone who dares to climb up, and it's a simple, direct, and slightly evil mission that I love. But Kang Jian says he never picks on the weak. He brings up a particular name, Dongwu. Kang Jian nods and says he's talking about Zhang Dongwu, the boy from his class. Dongwu's weakness makes Jin Suk laugh again, leaving our boy totally confused and wondering what's going on. Jin Suk admits that back in middle school, he was secretly rooting for Dongwu, though he dressed it up with a very polite excuse. Seeing Kang Jian's blank stare, he clarifies, "A lackey. You don't know what a bread shuttle is." Jinsuk's tone turns serious as he explains that Dongwu's family is the most powerful legal family in the country and his dad is the chief prosecutor. He admits that before his own father took the top spot, he had to tiptoe around Dongwu like he was walking on eggshells. This shocking secret about the school's hidden power structure leaves Kang Jian shaken, because the high school food chain is absolutely brutal. Jinsuk put it all right, that's exactly how South Korea feels. The strength your parents give you is the only power you truly have, a hard fact that cuts deep. The flashback fades, and Kang Jian is back in his bed, feeling the heavy weight of this new reality press down on him. He thought to himself once again, this mission is really not easy. And no kidding, it's a tough one. Right then, someone knocks on the door. And there they are, his real parents, disguised as fake ones, peeking in with those classic worried faces. They all ask what's wrong and offer to listen, but he quickly shuts them down, acting tough by saying it's nothing. They don't buy it for a second because that shared look tells the whole story. Alone again, Kang Jian faces a mini existential crisis and realizes that South Korean high school is far more complicated than any black ops mission. He tightens his fists, realizing that trying to fit in is nothing but a huge hassle. Then his dad finally drops the act, snaps at him to stop acting sorry, and reminds him who his real friend is before landing a painful blow. That is all it takes. Kang Jian snaps straight up like a soldier, apologizes, and promises to get back in the game. And just like that, the fake parents are smiling once more. Look at that, our boy has his game face on again. So what's his next move? He's grinding away, furiously tapping on his laptop to learn all the local secrets, from famous names like Lackey and Otaku to personality tests like MBTI. He tells himself he's the top agent from the Shadow Unit and swears he'll never fail his mission, then tells himself to calm down. While his friends peek through the door and giggle like proud parents, the whole scene feels totally ridiculous. The next day at school, super nervous Dongwu shuffles up to Kang Jian to try to ask about yesterday without actually saying it out loud. Kang Jian just laughed and called him out, knowing full well that Dongwu used to be the school bully. Dongwu begins to panic, but Kang Jian shuts him down with a surprisingly chill remark. Don't worry, I don't need shuttles. Then he flashes a goofy grin, gives a thumbs up to seal their friendship, leaving Dongwu confused while Kang Jian thinks he's smooth until Dongwu shuts him down. And once class ends, Dongwu finally relaxes but keeps a close watch on Jinsuk as he walks by. Kang Jian leans back with a calm smile and tells him not to worry, proposing they all become friends. But the other dude clearly still doesn't get it. Just as the saying goes, someone shouts his name, calling out Jin-so to come over. Kang Jian walks over with a smile so fake it looks like plastic, throws up a V sign, and says, thanks for the dinner. Jeans isn't laughing, but everyone else, even Era, is staring wide-eyed as if they just saw a ghost. The entire class stands frozen as this crazy guy casually offers to treat the school's toughest bully to dinner, while Jin-so stays silent, simply pointing to the empty seat next to him, signaling that it is Huang Wu-Jiang's throne. Then he smacks him with the test, asks why he isn't sitting, and declares that everyone better get serious because the pressure is on. Kang Jian's mind clicks into place as he realizes this isn't an invitation but a promotion, handing him the seat and making him the new second in command. Without even pausing, he drops into a seat, crosses his arms, and acts like the whole room belongs to him, pulling off a move so confident it's practically famous. Jinso cracks a smirk, showing he's impressed, while Kang Jian does a silent victory dance inside because his grand plan is finally set in motion. The lecture drags on, yet everyone's eyes are fixed on that single empty chair. Hang Woo-jun has vanished without a trace. Jeans leans in close and whispers that Woo-young should have been tough enough to show up even after that bad beating. Meanwhile, across town at TJ Sports, we finally see why he's missing. Woo-young is getting absolutely wrecked by a wooden pole. The guy is yelling at him, furious that he wasted so much money getting Woo-jing into that class only for him to mess it up. And here's the twist. The guy hammering him is Huang Jia, a powerful CEO, while Woo-young's own father is being hailed as Dad of the Year, with Jia going wild shouting that Jin Suk's father is a presidential candidate. Woo-young has no choice but to get close to him by any means necessary. He tells him in very colorful words to become Jin Suk's best friend, or else he roars. If you get it, then get lost, leaving a poor, battered Wu Jiang to limp away. With his son away, Jasko turns his eyes to his secretary and gets straight to work. He is desperate to find out everything about the business run by the kid's father, the same man who beat up his own son. Yep, he's talking about Kang Jian. The secretary tells us that Kang Jian's dad supposedly runs a crypto company called 11 Coin, but we all know it's just a fake setup, right? And the company turns out to be packed, so Jaw narrows his eyes. He invited them to eat, but his tone made it feel anything but friendly. The secretary asks where, and Joel's chilling reply is simply in this gym. Because now they know it definitely won't be a nice dinner. The secretary hears every word of the message. He gives a small bow, and everyone knows the danger is real. Jaw is just seething with rage, muttering curses at that punk who dared to block his path, proving once again that he has a serious temper problem. As the school day winds down, a happy arrow waves goodbye to Kang Jian. She steps up to her fancy car and finds a whole team of men in suits waiting right for her. Down the street, Jin Suk's bodyguard stands by ready to move. Jin Suk suddenly asks what that means, but Jin just gives a smug, knowing smirk as if he's hiding a secret. He promises to meet again tomorrow and walks off with the Mohawk guy, leaving our friend totally confused about his real family, who are actually North Korean spies. His confusion vanishes instantly as his dad arrives in a ridiculously flashy sports car, screaming for him to jump inside. Kang Jian closes his eyes and sighs, clearly fed up with how the other guy is acting. Later that night, the fake family enjoys a nice dinner together, even if it's as normal as 3 spies can manage. Right then, a loud ring comes from the doorbell. A man in a suit stood there, looking totally professional. He introduces himself with a calm smile, reveals he works for the Dejong group, and immediately smells like trouble. Mom and Dad instantly look worried and ask him what he needs. Kang Jian suddenly realizes the truth. Dejong group belongs to Wuong's family, the same kid he beat up. This secretary isn't here for small talk. He jumps straight to a serious accusation. Your son just knocked out our young master with a single punch. The entire family goes stiff as a single sweat drop rolls down Kang Jian's face because he's completely caught. The secretary dials it back, telling his boss they don't want trouble, just a friendly little meal with Dad. But I've seen enough movies to know exactly what that means. But our dad is a pro, folks. He just plays along with the clueless parent act, saying it's only a little scrap between kids, delivering an Oscar-worthy performance right there. The secretary insists the invitation is for right now, and with surprising confidence, Dad agrees to go. Our hero just watches him leave. His cool act completely melted away to reveal a worried kid who is clearly in way over his head. But just as the door shuts, Dad's mood flips instantly. He turns back with a hard look and gives one clear command. Stay home. The door clicks shut, leaving Kang Jian and his mom staring at it, their fake smiles melting into real worry. And now we're inside the evil lair, which is the TJ Sports headquarters and the home base of the Hang family. Inside, the secretary guides Dad down a hallway to the arena where our final boss, Wang Jia, sits by the MMA cage like he owns the whole place, which honestly he does. Jia jumps down from his cage with a grin that says he's a bad guy and tells you his kid got badly beaten up by your brat. So he asks, what are you going to do about it? But Dad just acts super calm and smiles while asking what the big boss wants. The classic rich kid move was to threaten transferring the brat to another school so they'd let it slide. Dad just laughs again, scratching his head and admitting it's tough because his wife worked so hard to get him into the top school in Korea. Jia has had enough, so he steps forward and tries to scare Dad by showing off his big size. He tried to win by acting like he was bigger than you. Just as Jia's face twists in rage, Dad's friendly smile vanishes completely. His eyes turn icy as he shouts, "Don't do anything you'll regret." But Jia ignores him and throws a huge punch that hits Dad right in the face. Dad's lip is split, but get this, it's actually Jaikal who is screaming in rage. "You're the one who started this!" he shouts while pounding Dad in the stomach until the old man falls to his knees, and Jia cracks his knuckles with a smug grin. I'll give it a pass for today, and I have to say, that's pretty generous of him. But he isn't finished, so he grabs Dad by the hair and pulls his head up. "Hand over your child now, or he will snarl that he'll throw you out of the country." Then he just smashes Dad's head into the floor, which is pretty wild. And with that, Jishal strides away, instructing his secretary to toss some cash at the problem as if throwing money can fix a broken face. A short while later, the secretary handed Dad a check for $10 million in exchange for his wrecked car. Dad's face is a mess, yet he just stares at the check like it's nothing more than a piece of garbage. Just as the secretary slides into his car, he lets out that classic villain threat. "Don't even think about calling the cops. We own them," he smirks. But Dad just replies with a deadpan, "I won't do anything stupid," which has a thick double meaning. The secretary flicks the check toward Dad, and he grabs it right out of the air. He stares at the car driving away, his face burning with fury, while the bad guys in it laugh, completely unaware of the big trouble they've just started. When Dad got back to the apartment, he found his worried family still waiting up for him. The air grows heavy, and the moment Kang Jian spots his bruised face, his eyes snap open in shock. Seeing that it's just a kid, he rushes over to ask if he's okay, but the dad holds up a hand and says, "Not now, kid. I'm on a roll." Then we see Mom, and her worried face vanishes, swapping for a silent, terrifying fury. Dad dropped into his office, which looks like a NASA control room, and began typing like a crazy person. His face was pure revenge as he vowed to make anyone who crossed him regret it, and just then, it was time to hack. The next morning, the evil corporate tower basks in another sunny day that looks perfectly normal on the outside. Our boy Jay Shaw sits in his office drinking tea, completely carefree. Cherish this moment, friend, because it won't last forever. His quiet moment is suddenly smashed when the secretary rushes in screaming that the world is ending and the CEO is in big trouble. Giles is just annoyed, having no clue what's happening and demanding to know why his morning is getting ruined. The secretary, looking like he's about to have a heart attack, delivers the bad news that the company servers are completely down. Gel tries to call the IT team, but they can't help because their computers are broken and the portal isn't working either. And for the final blow, the one that makes all the color drain from his face, refund inquiries are flooding in, and I just love to see it. Back in the office, the phone just keeps on ringing. Joel finally answers, and you can bet the news isn't good. The CEO is in deep trouble after someone spoke to him on the phone, while Giles just looks annoyed and wonders what to do next. Just as the biggest bomb dropped and the bank froze our accounts, everything went silent. And just like that, the face of pure, unfiltered panic appears exactly as we were hoping to see. Night falls and Joel sit alone in his huge, dark office, looking completely broken as he broods over the wreckage of his company. He was drenched in sweat, shaking so hard he asked the empty room if there was any hope left. "Listen, my friend, you're just talking to yourself now because it's all over." He was muttering about the bank's words when a voice suddenly answered from the shadows, saying, "Well, hello there." Mom walks through the gate and Jaw screams that she beat his security, but honestly, his guard is the least of your worries. She smirks as I silence the room with ice-cold power, leaving the whole security team and their cameras in a deep, endless sleep. Jaw tries to act tough, but his mom isn't having it, so she grabs him by the collar and sends him flying with one solid punch. Stunned, he looks up to see her sitting on his desk, staring down at him like he's dirt, and when she asks if he knows who he messed with, he can't find the answer. Joel is sweating buckets and says she would normally just kill him. And right on cue, she pulls out a syringe. It seems she had promised to stop killing, which made Jaw's day. She has a clever new plan that avoids death altogether. She pins the needle to his throat and tells him he'll wake up in 3 years, just as John graduates, before injecting him with that promise. His world goes dark, leaving only her cold, determined eyes staring back with a warning. Do not mess with this family. The next morning, Kang Jian is all set for school while his parents are busy cleaning up the house. He stops at the door to take one final look back. And yeah, his dad still looks like he just fought a brick wall, covered in bandages. But Mom is all sunshine and rainbows, waving him goodbye as if nothing is wrong. This guilt trap drives our boy to keep apologizing for the mess he made. His mom just giggles it off and she tells you not to worry. Mom and Dad handled everything, which doesn't seem scary at all. Does it? Next, we see the students at Seoul International High School. Before class begins, Era takes center stage inside, chatting and hanging out with her friends. She sees someone across the room and a mischievous grin spreads across her face. She aims at Kang Jian, who is just sitting there looking way too relaxed for someone in his situation. He's worried about how Korean parents dive into every single thing their kids do, and honestly, you don't know what kind of trouble you're in. Suddenly, Gojin dives in with the hottest gossip. He leans in close to drop a bombshell. Woo Jun's dad has collapsed and his company is crashing hard. Kang Jian's eyes go wide with shock as he struggles to make sense of what he just saw. Jean's Silk whispers that he heard rumors of a stroke or a heart attack, something very serious indeed. Suddenly, his mom's unsettling words from that morning flash back to him like lightning. He shakes his head hard, trying to deny it, and wonders if anyone could possibly refuse. Just as he starts to panic, Era jumps in to ask what he's doing this weekend. She just walks right past all the awkwardness and invites him to her birthday party, proving that timing is everything. You can feel the daggers in the air as Jinsk glares from across the room, and it's clear someone is not happy. Kang Jian stands frozen, his eyes wide with shock as he repeats, birthday party, like he's never heard the words before. Era just smirks with all his confidence, acting like it's his birthday and knowing you're coming. He nods and accepts, while she waves goodbye and promises to text him all the details. As Era walks away, Jin So just watches them with a blank face, and the story gets even more exciting. Just then, Huang Woo-young, the big boss, shuffled into the classroom looking absolutely broken and all his pride was gone. Era tries to ask about his dad, but Wu Jing just stares blankly, walks right past without saying a word, and drops into his seat. He looks like a ghost with all the fight drained out of him, while Kang Jian watches and puts the pieces together to see that his parents definitely took care of it. Later that day, Kang Jian stood all alone at the crosswalk. Yeah, his dad probably isn't feeling well enough to pick him up today. Just then, a voice called out and pulled him back from his thoughts. He spins around and finds 3 of his friends standing there. One of them asks if he is going home all by himself. He knows them from class, but he's shocked they're talking to him, and he really needs some friends. Since they're all riding the bus, they decide to head out together. Our boy, who loves being around people, just stammers a yes. The girl who spoke up introduced herself as Shin Yuna, while her friends were named Seo Dongjun and John Iju. Iju confesses she's been eager to meet him, leaving Kang Jian so flustered he can only say nice to meet you, until Yuna asks for his address and they both freeze when he mentions the Banu Blue Tower. Our boy stands there looking like a confused puppy, with absolutely no clue why everyone is freaking out. She screams that he must be loaded because that's the fanciest apartment around. He simply insists that it belongs to his parents. Well, since their cram schools are in the same area, they can ride the same bus. Suddenly, she spots a fantastic spot to try teppanyaki right nearby and asks if you'd like to go. Kang Jian says the name again, teppanyaki, wondering if this guy really has no idea what it is. Yuna is so excited she promises him he'll absolutely love it. After a short bus ride, they finally reached the famous Deserang snack bar. Inside, they decide to order just about every single dish on the menu. It was a real feast fit for kings and queens from high school. Before anyone can speak, everyone dives in to eat and shouts how delicious the food tastes. While Yuna happily munches on a kamap, she notices Kang Jian just staring at his food. She leans in close and whispers her final question. Don't tell me this is your first time eating tapas. He quickly denies it and shoves a piece in his mouth to prove it, only to make a huge mistake. The instant the food hits his tongue, the spicy punch knocks him back hard enough that his eyes nearly fall out of their sockets. He doesn't just talk about fire, he actually draws flames shooting out of his mouth, and I mean it for real. Yu and Dongjun go crazy with laughter, mocking his pain. He frantically grabs a cup of water and chugs it all down to douse the raging fire. Once he was back on her feet, she gets serious and admits she was surprised that he agreed to hang out with them. Dongjen adds that since he moved schools, he's only ever been seen hanging out with the rich and powerful kids. Iju explains that even though they sit in the same special class, they live on completely different social levels. Kang Jian is so lost that Dongjun has to spell out the way for him. Unlike the fancy crowds in Era or Jinsuk, their small group is just plain and ordinary. But he refuses to accept it, leaping forward to proudly shout that Yuna still holds the top spot in the whole school. Yuna just shrugs it off, claiming she's number 1 simply because all the real geniuses are off studying abroad. This information absolutely blows Kang Jian's mind. You can see the system error happening in real time. His mission intel said absolutely nothing about these kids. They were completely invisible to him until he finally realized these were just regular South Korean students. But right as he figures this out, a sneering voice interrupts him from the doorway. A squad of students in mismatched uniforms struts in, with one of them sneering at us like wealthy outsiders from an international school who just don't belong here. Kang Jian didn't even blink. He just stared right back at them, totally unfazed. The boss grumbled about common folks taking up space even though the room was mostly empty, proving he's just a bully. Yuna and Iju look super nervous because this whole fight is getting so tense. But Kang Jian isn't feeling impressed at all. As he sees the smirk, one of the bullies steps right up to his face and demands, "Hey, just answer when someone asks you something." And just like that, the smirk vanishes into a hard, icy stare, proving that playtime is finally done. The local bully squad leader shoved right up against Kang Jian's face, glaring and demanding to know why he was being ignored. Kang Jian just locks eyes with that icy, unbothered anime look you know so well. Meanwhile, his friend Dongjun is sweating like he's in a sauna, trying to push everyone out before things get out of hand. But of course, it's never that easy, so Kang Jian tries to leave, only to find the bully leader suddenly standing in his way. He wears a smug smirk and asks, "Oh, you think you're just walking away?" before blocking their path, leaving poor Dongjun to stammer about being polite as the bully leans in and demands, "You look rich, don't you?" Our boy Kang Jian stayed quiet with that same unreadable look, making us wonder if he even has any feelings left. Just as we thought we were safe, the demand came out of nowhere. "Buy us some food." A classic and painfully original shakedown. He grabs Dong Jun's shoulder, and the scared guy looks like he's about to faint. Just as things were about to turn real, a hand grabbed the bully's wrist hard. And there he is, the quiet hero who has finally decided to take a step. Kang Jian stares so hard it feels like freezing fire, then slams the ultimate Ono reverse card down and asks, "Are you guys broke?" You can hear the gears in the bully's mind grinding to a stop as he fails to expect your comeback. Even his sidekick is shocked, saying he thought International High was just for nerds, but clearly he has never met a nerd with a spine before. But Kang Jian doesn't care. His eyes stay locked on the leader, who regains his cool, smirks, and explains how a little scare is all it takes to make allowance money disappear. But Kang Jian, with a smug little grin, corrects him. "You aren't beggars, my friend. You're just plain old robbers." Oh, the curly-haired one really didn't like that. He puffs up his chest and growls, ready to pay for his food. Kang Jian's friends are panicking and can already see things aren't going as planned. The bully pushes things further, claiming Kang Jian made such a huge scene that they're dragging this outside, which is just typical. But wait, Yuna steps forward with a 50,000 bill in hand, bringing the voice of reason right into the middle of it. She rushes to make peace by apologizing and insisting that Kang Jian is just new and doesn't understand, essentially begging everyone to stop hurting her confused friend. The bully just laughs at Kang Jian for letting a girl handle his fights, leaving him looking foolish and stripped of all his cool. But Kang Jian won't let it happen, so he gently pushes her hand down because his hero complex is taking over. He tells her not to worry and that nothing will happen, but those might just be his famous last words. Then he turns back to the bullies and drops the biggest flex imaginable, boasting that his family is rich and lives on the royal floor of Banu Blue Tower. And just like that, you can watch dollar signs sparkle in their eyes as their smug grins twist into greedy hunger. His friends just stand there, totally confused, unable to figure out the secret moves our boy is making on this giant game of chess. And then, for the grand finale, he reveals a massive stack of $50,000 bills. He spreads the money out with a big grin, basically daring them to talk, and the bullies are already hooked because they can't ignore that much cash right there. So they all head out to a quiet, hidden alley where no cameras watch, making it the perfect spot for a friendly chat. The bullies are puzzled by his confidence, but since free money is free, who's going to say no? Meanwhile, Kang Jian's friends are huddled in the back, clearly wishing they had made different choices that led to this moment. Our guy is quietly figuring out the perfect plan to take down this whole crew without looking suspicious, especially since his school friends are right there with him. The leader cracks his knuckles and delivers his famous challenge. "Do you know who we are?" Just when you thought you'd figured it out, the real shock is that they're actually the boxing squad from Seoul Sports High School. With a swift motion, he throws the first punch but misses his target. Everyone takes a sip in shock while Kang Jian looks almost disappointed and asks, "You were an athlete?" Adding that the disrespect is just beautiful. His friend's jaw dropped in shock, and before the boxer could even react, Kang Jian struck back with a vicious counter. Bam! The hit is so hard his face crumples, he flies backward, and he's out cold from that single punch. Down went the boxer while the rest of the crew froze in shock, whispering over and over that it was just one punch. The curly-haired guy suddenly snaps out of it and starts screaming like a madman. Suddenly, he stops his men from charging and instead asks a wild question. "Do you know Wu Yong?" Kang Jian's eyes go wide because he recognizes the name, Wang Wu Yong. The bully grinned, reminding me of my old crew, and wondering if I trained enough to handle him. Kang Jian was confused, but the genius offered a new deal. Pay 500,001 a month. Then we'll leave your school alone, especially since our guy is trying to start a protection racket right after getting his butt kicked. Even Kang Jian couldn't help but wonder, is this guy actually real, or is he just the dumbest bully ever? The bully cracks his knuckles, offering to help him think it over with a few punches, which really shows how generous he is. He charges forward with a wild, crazy grin on his face. She glides through the water like a butterfly, ready to strike back with the venom of a bee. For just a heartbeat, Kang Jian looks stunned that they are this dumb. But then his face turns serious and it's time to go. He zips past their clumsy, slow attacks like a blur. The first guy lunges, throwing a punch so obvious you could see it coming from a mile away. While Kang Jian easily sidesteps from the sidelines, his friends watch in shocked disbelief as he beats them down with their jaws hanging open. Shiny Yuna looks terrified, so she peeks out and gasps in shock. Kang Jian's foot stopped the bully in its tracks without him even getting out of breath. Kang Jian just looks down at him, his face saying, "Really? That is all you've got?" Until the bully finally snaps and yells the ultimate insult of all losers. "You are asking for it? It's too late for threats now, my friend, because Kang Jian's foot is already heading straight for his face, and that's checkmate. It's time, Kang Jian, to land the final hit." Suddenly, a shout echoes, "What in the world are you doing?" And they all spin around. Oh, sirens. The cops are here. One of the thugs on the ground shouts, telling everyone to run. The thugs shove past the cop and sprint away. But Kang Jian just watches them go with a calm smile, even taking a moment to casually flick his phone into the air like a pro throwing a baseball. Crack. The phone smacks him right in the back of the head, sending him flying with a critical hit. He is so stunned he can only stare back in shock as the cops trap him, making for a terrible day. Kang Jian keeps a perfectly calm face while the police surround them and take everyone away. Soon after, at the police station, Kang Jian and the bully lock eyes in a silent staring contest. The air was so heavy with tension you could slice it with a knife. Meanwhile, the officer grills Shin Yuna and the others as they frantically beg him to believe they were just being blackmailed for money. The cop turns to the bully and asks if he really did it, reminding him that extortion is a serious crime. But the guy just leans back and acts like they're friends who went to the same cram school and he was only asking for a free meal. He even dares to ask, "And you didn't even lend it, did you?" Just to make them look bad. And honestly, I can't believe the nerve of that guy. "Why did you fight?" The cop yells at them, demanding they sort out their story or spend the night at the station. But Yuna shouts back, "We're the victims here." The bully just laughs it off, claiming his friend got hit. But the students shout right back that his whole crew gang upped on John. The officer slams his clipboard down to silence the room, and it's clear our heroes are in big trouble. Even our super soldier Kang Jian knows the situation is getting out of hand. It turns out he wasn't ready for the courtrooms and mountains of paperwork that lay ahead. Just as Q was reached, the door slid open and a man in a tracksuit walked in to tell the officer he'd heard his student was there, bringing the cavalry right on time. The bully leader lifts his head, only to see his face fall in shock. He stammers out, "Teacher!" And now he's definitely in trouble. Teacher Chuyen Su quickly rushes over to apologize to the officer for his student's awful behavior. But then the cop's mood flips instantly because he sees the teacher is a famous fighter, making it all seem totally normal. Tian Su promises to take care of his student, so the cop, who is clearly a huge fan, is more than happy to let everything go. But then, without any warning, the teacher grabs his student by the ear and yells in anger that a pro fighter cannot brawl with civilians before a match. Kang Jian watches this whole drama unfold with his classic unblinking stare, while the teacher and the bully both give him a seriously tense look. Chuyansu grabs his student by the ear and drags him along, while the officer lets Kang Jian's crew go home once his bandaged father arrives in a loud sports car, waving happily as if nothing is wrong. But back home, the cheer is gone and Dad is furious, demanding to know what John just did. Mom jumps in to say the police told them he was bullying his own friends, which is a big no-no. Dad gives him a serious talk about how everything is recorded these days, and the only thing the boy can do is apologize. Mom tries to comfort him, but John already knows this new world is way messier than the battlefield he left behind. In a flash, the cozy feeling vanishes as Dad's voice freezes up and he snaps, "Are you going to keep showing such incompetence?" Before he can even finish, Kang Jian snaps to attention like a soldier, promising it won't happen again, proving this family is something else entirely. That night, he wasn't playing games. He was furiously typing on his laptop to learn all about South Korean laws on how to stand up to bullies. The very next day, we spot him waiting at a bus stop. You can tell he's already hatching a new plan. In a quick flashback, he tells his parents he'll take the bus from now on. But as he walks away alone, he spots something suspicious. Yesterday's bully is talking to Huang Wujiang, and when the goon sees Kang Jian, he quickly slithers away, leading him to ask Wu Yong if he knows those guys. Wu Yong stays cool and doesn't even look at him, simply shuts him down with, "That is none of your business," and walks away. Just as his friends saw him from the school gate and started waving, he thought, "Perfect timing, guys." But their joyful reunion is suddenly interrupted when a huge, bright yellow SUV slams to a stop right in front of them. The door swings wide to reveal nothing but a ridiculously expensive red sneaker smacking against the ground, telling us this moneyed master has arrived. And there he is, Go Jin's so strutting like he owns the whole school, ready for another boss fight. The scene moves to the classroom, where Go Jinzo decides it's time to talk to Kang Jian, who is just sitting there doing his own thing. He leans in as if ready to give a serious speech about how to be cool. He cuts straight to the chase, demanding to know why our boy is hanging out with what they call losers. Kang Jian, who completely missed the memo about high school social tiers, is just like, why not? They are our classmates, right? Jin just laughs off this new idea, saying you only stick with people your own height, so hanging out with those below you hurts your social score. Seriously, bro. Meanwhile, Shiny Yuna and her pals are just hanging out, totally unaware of the big drama club meeting happening behind them. Our boy is still trying to make sense of this silly social ladder. Jinsok ends his unwanted life lessons with a plain order. Stop being so boring. Got it? The room fell so quiet that it felt like you could slice the air with a knife. Jin-sok is seething with anger while Kang Jian stays cool and collected. Suddenly, a chime breaks the heavy silence. They both quickly pull out their phones to check the message from Era. She's inviting everyone to her fancy birthday bash at the Crystal Room in the Hilton Hotel. Kang Jian glances over and sees Era lost in her phone, with her friends gathered around her. Her friends are openly betting on her with the new transfer student and they aren't acting subtle at all. He flashes a cheerful grin back because his perfect plan is finally coming together. This makes Jin-sok so furious he is practically steaming from the heat of his anger. Look at him clenching his teeth. Someone's precious pride just took a heavy hit. A short while later, we find Kang Jian eating his lunch all by himself in the cafeteria. He's inhaling the food like a vacuum cleaner, having never eaten this much in his entire life. He lifts his head right as Shin Yuna and her friends approach with their lunch trays. Yuna beams at him with a huge, happy grin, but trouble is on its way. Jin-sok walks up with a hard face and simply tells Jian to move, making Yuna flinch and apologize even though she didn't do anything wrong. Jin-sok ignores her completely, walks right past the group, and takes a seat across from Kang Jian. He slammed the tray onto the table, nearly making our boy choke on his food. And so another lecture begins, where he insists you're too soft and that's why they keep holding on. My friend, they just wanted to sit with him, he says before calling the Haviots the worst kind of hyenas. Kang Jian just keeps chewing, completely unbothered by how awkward this whole scene looks. Suddenly, Era appears and asks if he saw her message. She smiles and officially invites him to her birthday party in person. With his mouth still full of food, Kang Jian mutters, "Got it. Real smooth move there, bud," and gives a little wave as Era and her friends walk away. A couple of other girls walk past, chatting about how lucky he is to catch the school's biggest star's attention. Meanwhile, Jin-sok looks like his head is about to explode. He slammed his spoon down on the tray with a loud crash. His hunger completely vanished. He stands up from the table without a single word, leaving his delicious food behind. As he walks away, he casually tosses an order over his shoulder, muttering about the guy's nerve while cleaning up. Kang Jian stares at the untouched food, his face falling deeper into shadow as he watches it. Jin-sok kept walking with a big smile, paying no attention to him at all. Kang Jian's hand turns into a shaking fist filled with pure anger. You can almost hear his inner voice screaming, "Capitalist bastard," because wasting food is the one unforgivable sin in his book, and he is absolutely livid. But as the anger faded, a sensible idea took its place. Can I actually eat it? Priorities, my friend. Right after school, our story picks up where the flashy cars and wealthy students are waiting. Kang Jian was about to head out with Yuna and her crew, shouting "Let's go," too. But he froze right when you guessed it, as Jinseo called his name again. Jinsk tells him to get into the car. But our boy has no interest in that guy's drama, so I'll just take the bus. Jin-suk looks annoyed by his own size and heads straight to his SUV. His patience is almost gone, so he glares back to say he wasn't asking, while everyone else watches nervously as he and the other person stare each other down. Kang Jian stood his ground and stared right back without a single drop of fear. Finally, he lets out a heavy sigh, decides to stick with the mission, leaves his friends behind, and hops into the Doom car, thinking it will be fun. The second the door shuts, Jin-so starts right back up, proving my earlier warning about those guys was right. Kang Jian is wondering, why is this guy so prickly? And honestly, we're asking the same question. And then Jin-so drops the real bombshell by deciding not to come to Era's birthday party. He complains that Kang Jian is still completely confused by the social mix-up and can't seem to get what's going on. Then Jin-so suddenly explodes with anger, yelling that it's so annoying how friendly Era is being to him. He tries to use his authority by claiming their families are close friends. Kang Jian's secret agent brain kicks into gear, wondering if those friendly words are actually a secret code. Jin-suk claims that Era belongs to him and will soon become his girl. It was a huge blow to Kang Jian's fragile pride when she showed interest in someone like him. Kang Jian just stares at him with a face that gives nothing away. Jin-suk gets defensive, asking, "What are you so mad about?" But our boy cuts straight through the nonsense, asking if jealousy is the reason you're acting this way. The room went dead silent as Jinsk stood frozen, completely shocked and embarrassed to be called out. Kang Jian is tired of this unplanned therapy session and simply says, "Please pull over." But Jinsk scoffs, wrongly assuming the boy is backing down, until Kang Jian repeats the words in a low, dangerous voice. Just like that, the tables flipped and Jin Sok suddenly found herself intimidated by the sudden change in tone. The driver yanks hard on the brakes, and the big yellow SUV squeals to a sudden stop. Kang Jian quietly opens the door and walks out onto the sidewalk, saying nothing more. Just before he walks away, he turns one last time to strike the final blow, reminding his friends never to hurt each other like that. Ouch. The door slammed shut, leaving Jinsok sitting in his car, completely stunned, wondering if he just got dumped. As the SUV drives off, Kang Jian doesn't even glance back because he's already let it go and keeps moving forward. While Jinsok is seething with anger inside the car, he turns to his driver and gives a terrifying command. The driver looks shocked and asks him what he means. Jinsok went absolutely berserk, screaming at the top of his lungs to beat that guy up. Now the driver's eyes have turned hard, but out here our boy Kang Jian stands right there totally unfazed, a complete stone-cold Chad. And here's the kicker. Jinsok's driver flat out won't budge. He just said, "Nope, that's not my job," leaving Jeans totally confused as he tries a rich kid trick that could easily get him fired. The driver doesn't even blink as he tells the little kid that his dad hired him. Not him. Jeans so just scoffs and instantly calls his dad to tell on you because you can't believe what's happening. He's complaining to the phone about how his bodyguard isn't listening to his super important orders, which is just terrifying. He shoved the phone into the driver's hand and demanded that he speak to the big boss. The driver calmly takes the call to confirm his original orders, and it feels just right. Jeans so sinks back into his chair. So the driver steps out of the car and walks up to Kang Jian. He puts on a brave face, telling Kang Jian to apologize so he won't have to hurt a kid. But Kang Jian just stares at him with a calm smile. Why should I apologize when I haven't done anything wrong? The driver drops some life philosophy, saying, "It's not about right or wrong. It's about who has more power." And Kang Jian hits him with the ultimate owner reverse card. Is that so? Then I have even less reason to apologize. The driver just stares, his threats bouncing harmlessly off the kid. Kang Jian plays a clever trick by catching the eye of a security camera, while also looking up at a car's dash cam. He gestures to the crowd watching them and asks with a smirk, "Are you really sure you want to do this right here?" The driver's eyes go wide as he realizes a high schooler has totally outsmarted him. Yet Kang Jian even offers to take it somewhere private to prove him wrong, only for the surprised crowd to watch as the driver simply turns around and walks back to his car, defeated. Jin So is so shocked she can barely stand. His own hired guard turned tail and bolted away. He shouts in anger, but the driver just calmly says they are being watched by too many cameras. Jinso snaps, drags him away, and handles business, proving this kid truly has zero chill. The driver warns him that his only job is to keep a close eye on Jin Suk, so he never wanders too far away. As Jin Suk throws another fit, the driver finally pushes him over the edge. He claims that Jin Suk's father, who is running for office, gave him a strict order to keep his son out of trouble. He says he'll deal with it later, so they walk away now, making a bold statement that they own the situation. Jin Suk stops talking and just stares angrily out the window at Kang Jian, who is standing there as stiff as a statue. Kang Jian keeps walking away, leaving Jin So to just grit his teeth in anger. As they speed off, Jin Sak keeps shouting how much he hates everyone, which makes him a truly fun character to watch. Just as Kang Yin walks home, a shadowy figure watches him from the dark, and you know that classic story trick is coming. The lurker steps up to John and hands him a photo of Jang Dongwu being beaten and held hostage. Kang Jian's calm face instantly cracks, his expression showing how serious the situation has become. The kidnapper commanded Kang Jian to follow him, and things had suddenly gotten way too serious. The scene cuts to a gritty warehouse at night, the kind of place where nothing good ever happens. Inside, the unlucky Dongwu is on his knees, surrounded by a crowd of scary-looking bullies. Kang Jian walks in, guided by the same curly-haired man from before, which means the trap has finally been sprung. Dongwu looks up in pure terror and screams for his friend to save him. If looks could kill, everyone in this warehouse would be dust. But Kang Jian is radiating pure fury right now. The leader smirks, proud that he set this up, having feared our boy might not show up. He even has the audacity to laugh at Kang Jian for caring about his friend. But that's a huge mistake. Kang Jian ignores the trash talk, steps forward, and orders, "Let him go." The leader turns his threats onto Dongwu, telling him that if he talks to the cops, his female friends will suffer the consequences. Dongwu begins to apologize, but Kang Jian places a calming hand on his shoulder. He orders Dongwu to stay behind, then looks at the leader and says, "You're coming with me," sending a chill down our spines. Then, with no warning at all, Kang Jian explodes forward like a flash of lightning. The bad guys just stand there, staring with their mouths open in pure shock. Before they could even think about it, bam! Kang Jian has already taken charge. With a lightning-fast flurry of moves, he finishes with a crushing punch that knocks the man flying. The leader smashed right through a wooden box and fainted, leaving one enemy down but several more to take on. While the other thugs are frozen in fear, Kang Jian is already spinning to strike the next fool. He zips around like a blur, knocking out 2 more attackers before they can throw a punch, and this is a total beatdown. The final survivor is drenched in sweat and shaking with fear from the terrifying monster staring him down. In a final, desperate panic, the thug screams and lunges at you, only to find out it was a terrible mistake. Hang swats the useless attack away with one hand and cracks the attacker's face with the other. And in a blink, it's all done, with the whole crew lying cold and unconscious on the floor in a total disaster. Jang Dong-woo stood there with his mind blown, having just watched his friend turn into a one-man army. As Kang Jian stands over the knocked-out thugs, the curly-haired leader who started all this finally wakes up. His eyes burst open to find Kang Jian's scary shadow looming right over him, making for a true nightmare. Kang Jian thinks about turning and running, but then he stops and worries about the terrible revenge these guys might take. His face went dark as he realized letting you go would only cause more trouble, so he had to flip his crazy switch. The sweaty thug leader can't speak, while our boy ignores him completely and scans the room for supplies. He notices a stack of wooden boards, grabs one without a second thought, and walks right past the sleeping bodies as if they were just props in a play. Then, with a loud crack, he smashes the plank right onto the concrete floor. He calmly begins to pull the long, sharp splinters from the broken wood. The thug is going crazy, trying to figure out what this psycho is planning. The guy makes one last attempt to sound brave, but Kang Jian shuts him down instantly with a single, sharp punch. That's all it takes. The punch knocks him flat on the grime-stained floor, where he struggles to catch his breath. Kang Jian drops to one knee and takes the stunned man's hand, asking, "You're into boxing, right?" He squeezes, and the thug's face twists in agony, but not a single sound escapes him. Then he pulls out a fresh wooden splinter, and the mood just gets a whole lot darker. But before starting, he turns to Dong-woo with a big smile and asks if she'd mind waiting outside for a moment. Dong-woo, pale as a ghost, gives a quick nod and slips away, refusing to stick around for what happens next. Now all by himself, Kang Jian leans down to the bully and warns him, "You'd better not mess with my friends." Suddenly, a terrifying scream rings out from inside the warehouse. Dong-woo heard it from outside and just knew. The thug trembles on the floor while Kang Jian lifts his hand to show the splinter stuck deep under his pinky nail, proving it's just one of many. He says it's just a 3-centimeter nail, tossing splinters around the man's head like a warning. He grabs the thug by the hair and growls, warning that if he comes anywhere near him again, he'll stick these into the thug's nails and toes. Does he understand? The guy is a total wreck, sobbing uncontrollably until Kang Jian kicks him away in disgust, proving that sometimes the only way to stop bullying is to show some tough love. "Don't ever look at each other again," he said as he turned to walk away from the mess, leaving one of the thugs to weakly ask his friend if the monster had finally gone. And the answer was yes, the monster was gone. Outside, Kang Jian rubs his neck and wonders if he was too harsh. "They're just kids. Listen, you once did amateur surgery with a wood splinter." Just then, a flashback of his past crashes into his mind. We see him as a small child hanging from a tree by his wrists, broken and drained by the beating. He glances to the side. He wasn't alone. Others were there too. He still remembers the other kids he saw, including a girl whose eyes looked like empty holes. He shakes his head hard, trying to push that memory out of his mind. He turns to the still shaken Dong-woo and says, "You don't have to worry now. But the truth is everyone is just more scared of you now." He wraps his arm around his brand new best friend. "You know today's matter is a secret, right?" Dong-woo could only stammer a weak agreement. Then, instead of being horrified after torturing someone, he beamed with a bright smile and asked if I was hungry, suggesting we grab some tekkabaki, which made my mood swing feel like a wild roller coaster ride. The following day at school, everything went on as if nothing had happened. Shinya and Gono stroll along, waving hello to their friends as they go. While Kang Jian sits at his desk giving a casual little wave back, Dong-woo looks a bit scared at first, but eventually sends out a small wave too. Kang Jian gives a small smile, the quiet sign that they have just become friends through shared pain. He is happy with his new team and thinks everything is going well, until his eyes wander over the classroom. His eyes spot Go Jinso, sitting all alone looking exactly like the brooding rival you know and love. Kang Jian recalls what Dong-woo whispered to him after their victory tekkabaki, admitting that Huang Wu-jiang was the one who tricked him. Dong-woo was absolutely scared, but he couldn't help himself and told everyone everything. Kang Jian connects the dots, recalling that Wu Yang spoke with the thug leader, and realizes it was all a trap. Just as he gets lost in his thoughts, another problem strolls right in, Jin Sak. He strides straight up to Wang Win and says, "Lock up the gym for tonight," a creepy little grin stretching across his face. Kang Jian's eyes widen in surprise at the news, But that shock quickly turns into a confident smirk as he realizes the perfect ambush Jin Sok is setting is actually making the next boss fight way easier for him. Until Woo Jun simply and beautifully says no. Jin Suk looks so shocked you'd think someone just told him Santa isn't real. Wong says his dad is in the hospital, so he has no time for this nonsense. Jin Sak, thoroughly annoyed, clicks his tongue and storms off like a toddler who didn't get his toy. But, of course, Kong Jian is there to poke the bear, coolly asking Jeans why nothing ever seems to work out for him. And that, my friends, leaves Jeans so frozen in place. He is so angry that his irritation looks like it's steaming off him. Jin Sok puffs out his chest and threatens our boy, saying he'll find a spot to take him out. But Hang Jian just smiles and says, "Fine, fine. Got it," he says and strides away, leaving Jeans so seething with anger. Suddenly, Wu Yong jolted back to reality and found Kong Jian staring back at him with a look of pure seriousness. He cuts straight to the question of why Wu Jing messed with Dong Jun, leaving Wu Jing staring in shock before Kong Jian grabs him by the collar with a grip that feels like it could crush steel. He grabs Wu Yong and pulls him close to whisper a strict warning. Never cross them again. Understood? Then he lets him go and casually invites him to use the gym today, playing it cool like the ultimate Chad. With a smug grin, he declares it's time to sort out the hierarchy, and oh, the game is definitely on now. Alright, the scene shifts to the huge TJ Sports building, where Jin Sok's bright yellow SUV rolls up. Jin Sok's driver steps out, shaking his head at the thought of picking a fight with a bunch of kids, remembering how John once faced off against Wuong and realizing these opponents are way out of their league. He recalled how sure of himself John had been. The driver laughs it off, convinced he's unbeatable, little knowing those are his final words. He takes one step and then stops dead in his tracks. Something or someone has come to a halt. A mysterious man in a trench coat and glasses just strolls up like he owns the place, and I can't help but wonder who he really is. The man welcomes him with a long time no see, then suddenly drops the news that he heard you quit the company. The driver immediately bowed deeply with respect, but the man in the trench coat just waved it off, saying he totally understood. Then he asks about the driver's mom, and the guy is totally caught off guard because this dude knows exactly what's going on. He told us the driver was one of his top young drivers, so when he just vanished, it made everyone nervous. The driver apologized again, explaining he didn't reach out since he thought the man was out of the country, but the guy just shrugged it off with a cool attitude and smiled when asked about his visit, saying he was just here on government business. The driver looks completely worn out and mumbles that he must have gotten rusty since he left the service. The man turns around and asks if anyone knows about CEO Hang, ready to start a long story about him. The driver confirms Wong is in a coma from a brain hemorrhage. Then the man drops a bombshell. The big bosses are convinced that the famous killer known as Shadow did it. The driver freezes in shock, muttering, "Wait, you mean the Shadow? But wait, there's more," he added, pointing out that a recent hack suggests the North might be behind it. Turns out the famous hacker Zero might be from the North, and now the mystery gets even deeper. The driver's mind is going haywire as the hacker named Zero nods and says, "Yes, friend. Keep going." While the man just grins, knowing it sounds crazy but loving every wild second of it. He lays out the whole picture. After being gone for 10 years, Shadow suddenly pops back into the story. Instead of going after a powerful politician, he targets a random middle manager CEO, which is a bit strange, isn't it? Zero, the world's most famous hacker, decides to attack a tiny company that isn't even in the top 30, and it just doesn't make any sense. The driver stammers that he's right. It just makes no sense at all. The wheels are finally spinning. The man gives him a friendly shoulder pat, shares that he was glad to see him, and then gets ready to jump. The driver bows again to wish him well, and as the man walks away giving a little wave without looking back, the driver watches him go, thinking to himself that he hopes the guy has a nice, safe retirement. Then he just dismisses the whole thing since legendary figures like Shadow and Zero in Korea aren't possible. Meanwhile, in a crazy high-tech room, Kong